For most of the last 35 years, the world has failed in its search for Bobby Fischer. He shunned the game that made him famous and evaded the grasp of American law.
Well, when we saw him, he had a trimmed beard. He was wearing almost like a vinyl leather-looking cap and a pair of jeans. His fingernails were kind of long, but other than that, he seemed pretty calm.
It took Ed Trice 2 years and $15 million to arrange the 5-minute meeting that yielded that description. Trice is the inventor of a chess-like game called Gothic Chess, and he raised the $15 million for a Gothic chess showdown between Fischer and Russian Grandmaster Anatoly Karpov.
This is Karpov's signature here.
After 18 months of back-channel chatting, Trice went to find Fischer in Iceland, his latest exotic adopted home. Fischer's 1992 comeback match in Yugoslavia defied a UN embargo and led to an American arrest warrant, sending Fischer on the run. Detained in the Tokyo airport in 2004, chess-mad Iceland came to his rescue in 2005 by granting extradition-free citizenship. But Fischer's mental health has been called into question in recent years by a series of staticky interviews on far-flung radio stations, mainly in the Philippines, in which Fischer aimed graphic vitriol at the United States,
Fuck the U.S. I want to see the U.S. wiped out.
a global Jewish conspiracy,
The Jews are criminal people. They mutilate their children. They made up the Holocaust. There's not a word of truth to it.
and the corruption of the game that made him famous.
My only interest in chess is to expose the prearrangement.
In suburban Philadelphia, Ed Trice chose to focus on that last complaint, Fischer's qualms with modern chess, and pitch Gothic Chess, which adds 2 pieces to the board
This can move like a bishop or a knight on any turn.
and favors Fischer's creative style.
There's nothing wrong with chess. You know, chess is a beautiful game, but you are no longer playing the person who's sitting across from you. You're playing every great master he's studied, every opening he has committed to memory. The scope for originality in contemporary chess has been greatly reduced.
Through a private online account, Trice says Fischer challenged him to a game of the game Trice invented and spotted him a 3-minute handicap in the 5-minute internet match.
And I would like to think that I could play this game well enough that nobody could give me 3 minutes worth of odds in a 5-minute game and still destroy me.
Did he say anything after the game?
No, he abruptly left after the checkmate.
A month later, Trice was in Iceland, but a non-disclosure agreement prevented him from discussing the 2006 trip until recently. Going in, Trice knew Fischer's reputation for extravagant requests, and he learned firsthand in Iceland when he met not Fischer, but an associate with demands.
And says, well, you know, Bobby's looking for $20,000.
Trice was prepared and handed him a check for 20 grand.
And he says, well, this check's drawn against the United States Bank for United States dollars. Bobby's won't accept the United States check. So this may be the only instance in my life where I outthought Fischer. And I said, okay. So I took out of my left-hand pocket a check for the equivalent of 20,000 US dollars, converted to Canadian dollars against the Bank of Montreal. I said, will he accept this? And he says, well, Bobby would prefer $20,000 cash.
Trice returned home without meeting Fischer, lost some of his sponsors, secured others, and returned to Iceland, where he finally met Fischer.
He kind of came from our behind and back of us, and then sat down kind of catty corner, not even looking at us, kind of like this. Kind of like, that was the initial meeting. And it was like, oh, okay, the king is here. What do you have to say? And I introduced myself to him, and he said, hi, how are you? Extended his hand, we shook hands. And then he, kind of looked at his hand as if I had something slimy on my hand. And that was how we started.
Fischer now demanded $50,000 to sign the contract and had questions about the new sponsors.
He asked for some personal information about the new people who were involved. He gets very particular about that.
Well, when you say personal information, was it just that they're not Jewish, or was it something else?
It was either a signed document from a pastor indicating that they are of some Christian denomination, definite positive confirmation. They had to sign a short statement that's saying that they were definitely not Jewish.
But still, that wasn't enough. Trice wouldn't provide the $50,000 quickly enough for Fischer, and the match collapsed. For the record, Trice distances himself from Fischer's perhaps deranged political views and chalks them up to mental illness.
And you think he just never wanted to play?
That's a strong, very strong possibility. You know, that he probably just wanted to see what this was about. I mean, he got a free Gothic chess set out of me, you know, and my carrying case. And but I don't think he could have got it in a much different fashion.
But Fischer is running low on money, and Trice has a surplus of optimism. So when Fischer called last month, Trice agreed to return to Iceland this week to help with an undisclosed future project.
I really think if just one person can reach through to him, you know, he may be able to turn things around. But it's like, you know, the 12 labors of Hercules. You know, the 12th labor was to go near the dog, the three-headed dog. And the way Hercules got through that labor was he showed that dog the only kindness it ever experienced in his whole life. And I'm kind of the bent that if Fischer just sees this for what it is, someone really trying to help him help himself, that maybe he will come around, maybe he will get some help, maybe he will become, you know, at least a shadow of the person we used to remember.